Ladies and gentlemen, the dust has officially settled on the 2025 NFL draft. And I figured I'd give you guys a couple of days to decompress. And I am coming out with my last video of the 2025 draft cycle for the New York Jets. And that's going to be grading the Jets 2025 draft class. And I could already smell the comment section below saying, you can't grade a draft until the players play on the field for at least 3 years. Yeah, I know. I get it. But this is my channel. And I love making videos like this. So we're going to talk about it, especially as a draft aficionado, as I self proclaim myself. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it. So let's dive into it. So obviously, this pick is where you fall on the fence. So I was on team Armand Membu at pick number 7. So as soon as I heard Roger Goodell say R, I jumped up. I said, let's freaking go, the other F word. And then I smacked my hands together a couple times because I was hyped. This embodies everything that this new regime looks to be doing on the offensive side. It looks to be like they want to continue to build this offensive line wall. Well, now it's complete. They look like they want to run the football. Well, now we could run behind one of the top 10 offensive lines in football. I think Armand Membu, despite being a touch raw, maybe needing a little bit more development, I think he is your plug and play starter at right tackle from week 1. And when this line is fully healthy, you have Olu Fashanu, you have John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker, and now you have Armand Membu. So really, it's young, it's athletic, it's powerful. Hopefully, Fashanu takes that second step towards being the franchise left tackle that we think he can be. Yeah, true. Good teams develop tackles and offensive linemen in the later rounds. That's why the Jets need to take tackles and guards and centers in the first couple rounds. I rest my case. I think this is an A-plus move from the organization, whether it be they're building this wall for this Justin Fields-led offense or building this wall for a future franchise quarterback in the 2026 or 2027 NFL draft. That remains to be seen. But regardless, if a rookie quarterback does come in next year, they're putting him in a great situation with giving him a great running game and giving him a great offensive line. Love this pick. Easy A plus for me. I am also an easy grader and I'm easily impressed. So that, use that information how you will. In the second round, I was 2 for 2 in the picks that I wanted in the first 2 rounds. We got Mason Taylor at pick number 42. Now, some may argue that Mason Taylor was a little bit of an overdraft at 42, but let's face it, really, they weren't going to get him at 73. And with the way that the tight ends were kind of flying off the board, they would have waited for a Ferguson or someone, an Elijah Arroyo. Those players would have been gone. Mason Taylor was the consensus tight end 3 for the most part, so it was only fitting that he was the third tight end taken. Very shockingly, Colston Loveland was taken before Tyler Warren, but it was any combination of the 3 being the first 3 off the board. Taylor is a great athlete with good route running ability, strong hands, and he's only 20 years old, people. He's not the best blocker. He can be developed into something better. 6'6", 251 pounds, could even put more meat on that already impressive athletic frame. Listen, it's not hard, I should say, to be a great tight end in the Jets franchise. Jeff Cumberland has the 10th most receiving yards for a tight end in Jets history. Jeff Cumberland. I will say that again. Tyler Conklin, I think, is like 7th on that list, and most of his production came in garbage time. Again, it's not that difficult to be a good tight end for this franchise. It's been basically cursed at the tight end position, but I think Mason Taylor is a step in the right direction. 20 years old, banking on that upside, banking on that physicality and that athletic profile to continue to blossom. It was a major, major need, probably the biggest need on this roster outside of wide receiver was tight end, and I think they smashed it. I give this pick an A. And then a complete surprise to me, Azareye'h Thomas was on the board at number 73. Now, if you are fans of this channel, you know how big of a fan of Azareye'h Thomas I was throughout the draft cycle. a player that is still learning the position, only been playing cornerback for a few years at this point, but was a monster at Florida State. Now, maybe the one caveat to him falling this far, I believe PFF, not that PFF is the end all be all, but I believe they had Azareye'h Thomas as their like 42nd, 43rd ranked prospect. He fell to 73. And I mean, I couldn't be more happier with this move. You know that Aaron Glenn was going to get a cornerback to develop. You just knew he was in Darren Mougey's ear saying, get my guy, get my guy. And they got his guy. This is a player that fits the scheme that Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes want to run. This is a man who is physical at the line of scrimmage, is physical in press, has that press man coverage ability, has a nose for the football. The only downside to him is he is a touch on the slower side, but I don't mind that with physical corners because they are not all or nothing players. They get up, they get at the line of scrimmage, they jam the offensive, they jam the wide receiver. So you don't have to be 4-3, 4-2 on the outside if you're going to play big, play physical. And that's exactly what Azareye'h Thomas is going to be. Now, I don't know what this pick necessarily means. Does this mean that they start Azareye'h Thomas right away at CB2 and put Brandon Stevens at that free safety or strong safety position? I don't know. It remains to be seen. Or do they ease him into it? Now the Jets have, I think, more than enough cushion at the cornerback position right now to kind of mix and match and play around with it and find the best 1-2 punch that fits with Sauce Gardner, with Michael Carter in the slot. Does Azareye'h Thomas go there? Does Quantez Stiggers take that leap? Or is Brandon Stevens making that money to play CB2 and Azareye'h Thomas will be sprinkled in here and there until he gets his footing? It remains to be seen. I was a little surprised with a cornerback inside the top 100. I thought that was more of a fourth or fifth round selection. I love the value because of the player that Azareye'h Thomas could become. I was just with the wide receivers kind of sort of flying off the board. I was kind of hoping they'd go with a wide receiver. What my thinking is they were banking on Kyle Williams falling to them at number 73, and Azareye'h Thomas was that backup option, and that is a fantastic backup option. I couldn't decide between a B plus and an A minus, so I just went with a B plus plus. I love this pick. I love this player, and as long as he develops correctly, this could be an absolute steal in the third round. And then the pick that I like the least, but has been growing on me as the days have gone by. That's why you need time to sit back and really evaluate these selections because I sat in front of my TV. I had a wedding to go to on Saturday, and the wedding was at 1:30. And I believe the Jets made this pick around like 12:20, 12:25. So I was really pressed for time. I didn't even shower. I didn't even get my clothes ready at this point. I wanted to see the Jets make this pick because there were so many good wide receivers on the board. CJ West was on the board, a defensive tackle that the Jets could have absolutely used at that point. I think Arian Smith has great intangibles. He's incredibly fast. Just that guy that's going to blow the top off the defense that the Jets are lacking at the wide receiver position. I get it. The drop issue really concerns me. He did have a good pro day. He had a great Senior Bowl, and he had a good NFL combine. I'm kind of hoping that that turns the tide on his one bad season of, I believe it was like a 19 or 18 drop percentage. It's a horrendous number, but if he can consistently catch the football, I don't think he'll have a problem getting separation at the NFL level. The reason I dislike this pick so much is because of the players that were around him that were still not chosen yet. A couple that come off the top of the head. Jalen Royals was a player. Ayu Manor was still on the board. Like I said, CJ West. There was a lot of players at positions of need that were still on the board that I thought I would have chosen way before Arian Smith. But hey, we knew that the Jets brass liked him. They brought him in for a top 30 visit pretty early on in the draft cycle. So we knew the interest was there. I did figure this guy was going to be a pick. I was thinking more like before they traded up twice, I was thinking maybe with that 207th pick, because I truly don't think he was on anyone else's draft board that high. But be that as it may, that's why every team's draft board is different. Arian Smith hopefully prove me wrong and become a great find on day 3 for the Jets. And then my favorite pick in the entire draft class for the New York Jets. One of my favorite defensive backs in the entire class. He was my safety 6 in my top 20 or top 15 safeties in the 2025 NFL draft class. Malachi Moore, they traded up. They were at round 5, pick 145 traded up to 130 to grab him. An unbelievable player in his 5 seasons at Alabama, someone that truly understands that cover seven defense. And I value Alabama defensive backs a lot more than some players do, that some evaluators do, because of the football IQ and the smarts that you have to have on that defensive side to understand that Nick Saban cover seven defense. There's so many intricate coverages that go into it, so many different audibles. Now, I know you may be saying that Kalen DeBoer is the coach of Alabama, but Malachi Moore was here for 4 seasons of Nick Saban. So he obviously understands that defense. He's so heady. He's got a great nose for the football. 7 interceptions last season. He was phenomenal all around. And really, I couldn't be more happy with this pick. This really, especially if Azaria Thomas starts at CB2, Andre Cisco, Brandon Stevens, Malachi Moore at that safety position. This secondary seems to be completely revamped in the style that Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes are looking for. And I'm so happy that they made this pick because he was one of my favorite players, one of the most slept on players in the entire draft class. This was by far the best pick, value wise and potentially steal wise, for the Jets in this draft class, in my opinion. And then a surprise pick, in my opinion, that was not on my radar was Kiki Mawagnoa from Miami. Now, I like this pick. I at first I was like, whoa, 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 hold on, where did this come from? Because I truly did think that the Jets were looking for more of that. How should I say this? Maybe that smaller framed, more athletic linebacker, someone like a Teddy Buchanan or an Aaron Smith, who they did wind up signing as an undrafted free agent. But Mawagnoa is a really, really nice find for the Jets here in round 5. This could completely complete that middle three. Quincy Williams is a dog in his own right. Jamie Sherwood was re-signed long term, and then you add Kiki Mawagnoa in there as well. I love what he could do for this defense. He's probably not going to start, but he's going to be a player that's going to see the field quite a bit, I would assume. Great in run defense. That's one thing that is so huge from his game. Really, really good as a coverage linebacker as well. He's not going to be asked to really cover those big tight ends or those slot wide receivers. He's probably going to cover running backs out of the backfield, but he's someone that has shown through tape that he is more than capable of doing that. He's got a great nose for the football. He hits hard. That's what I love. But one thing that I don't love about his game, two things really. He's a little bit flat footed sometimes in coverage, and he's questionable in space tackling. That is one thing that was so big with this Jets team last year that they severely lacked. I don't want to go back into that, but tackling technique is something that can be coached, and it's so important in an Aaron Glenn defense that I think that they have the mold with Mawagnoa, and they could kind of do whatever they want with him here. He's a player that probably is going to start on special teams, gradually work into that starting rotation, and I'm excited to see how Steve Wilkes and Aaron Glenn use him. I like this pick. I gave it a B. I like the value as well, and I'm excited about this pick. And then the last pick, round 6, pick number 176. It is edge rusher Tyler Barron. Now, again, another player that I was kind of surprised was on the Jets draft board, but I like it. And really, the reason why I like it is twofolded. Tyler Barron's not someone that's going to light up the stat sheet. His career high in sacks was 6, and that was last 5.5 sacks in 2024. He's edge very well, 77 run defense grade, which was in that above average for edge rushers, an 18.7 pass rush win rate last season, a 90.0 true pass set pass rush grade, unbelievable numbers all across the board, and an overall pass rushing grade of 84.4. Run stop rate of 9.0. I know I'm throwing a lot of metrics at you, but one thing that the Jets edge rushers severely lacked this past year was setting the edge and being good as run defenders. Now, I don't think Barron is a player that is going to, get 10 plus sacks a season, but he's going to be a rotational edge rusher that hopefully will take Michael Clemens' place for the love of God and be that edge setter, be that tone setter, be that run defender on the edge that the Jets desperately need. I love this pick. I don't love trading up for it. I don't know who else had Barron really this high on their board. I thought he could have been there at number 207, I am a little bit of a stickler for potential day 3 draft picks next year and the year after, so I don't really like trading up in those later rounds. That's just me. I'm a little bit nitpicky when it comes to that, but I think Barron's going to make an instant impact in this edge rusher rotation, and I'm very, very excited for this. Now, my overall class grade for the first draft class of this new regime of Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn, I gave it a B plus. I thought that right away, really the only pick that left a kind of sort of a bad taste in my mouth was the Arian Smith pick. I think that they nailed a ton of needs. I gave it a B plus, not an A minus, not an A because there was I wouldn't say two areas. One that was a glaring need that was not addressed, and that was the defensive tackles position. There was a couple of times that the Jets could have absolutely gotten some difference makers in the later rounds too. Like I mentioned, CJ West before was a favorite of mine that they did not select. They took Arian Smith over him. So I don't know what their plan is for that specific position. But other than that and the Arian Smith pick, I was a huge fan of this draft class. I think the Jets got a lot of difference makers all over the field. They only picked 7 times, the bare minimum, at least for a 7 round draft. They picked 7 times. They moved up and down the board later on. I really like the approach from Mougey and Glenn. You're going young, high upside, high floor players, especially with those first two in Mason Taylor and Armand Membu. I was a huge fan of this draft class, and I just hope they pan out. That's all we could all hope for as Jets fans, right? So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There are my grades for the 2025 Jets draft class. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please list your grades down below on the picks. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.